It's a great day here at Fleche's YouTube channel, and today I have the Masterclass tier list on Black Yellow Luffy. Kind of have comedic, but it's actually real. I took the time, I did my research, and I wanted to get the best at Black Yellow Luffy. And what better way to do that than buy 6 Masterclasses? Now, to be real with you, I actually only bought one of these, but the rest of them gave them to me for free so I can review them, so I can do that. Some things this video is not going to be. I'm not going to give you every little secret, so it is a masterclass of masterclasses, because that would be kind of pointless to them, and I want to promote them for their own content. So I'll let you guys decide who you want to buy or get multiple of these. I do want to say, please support, these One Piece content creators, pro players, in some way, and I do appreciate you all supporting me. In that turn, I want to say these videos do take a lot of time, effort, and research to do. So if you could leave a like and maybe even subscribe, I would really appreciate that. Without further ado, let's get into the Masterclass tier list for Black Yellow Luffy. All right, so first thing is, this is it. That's the whole thing. Enigma is S tier, okay? And we have everybody else below Enigma. There's just no contest. Enigma is the best. He did do a guide for me. And realistically, that's where I'm just going to leave it. So thank you all so much for watching the video. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Ciao. And that's what I would maybe say, but Enigma is a very good player, but we'll go over that as well. For this, the criteria I'm going to be kind of critiquing everyone on is accessibility of the guide, okay? The actual content, the basics, the matchups in relevancy, right? The relevancy of the deck it is right now, and is it zoomer friendly? And the major thing with all these, accessibility, these are all pretty much on Metafy. There's one on Patreon. Actually, 2 of them are on Patreon, which you can say, I don't know, I feel like Metafy feels a little newer right now for a lot of people. I know Metafy tries to reach out to content creators, and I think they're doing a really good job of actually helping them make money, right? And with that actual content, so what's in there, I'll tell you based off of that. Relevancy, so maybe it was last set, maybe it's not this set, maybe it's too old, maybe it's not in the same region. And last, is it zoomer friendly? Is it going to be explained to people that are essentially really dumb and so they can learn it as well? Because I think if you can teach somebody who's really not smart to do something, that is relevancy of good teaching, and sometimes it's kind of hard, right? That's not always the easiest thing to do. And who are we judging? We first have Impact. His Twitter's down here below. He is laser focused. We have Jellybeans. That's his Twitter. Jellybeans OP. Eric Quintana. Roberto. He's basically a pro player in Europe. He does a lot of coaching. I mean, a lot of coaching. I've seen way too many reviews on Roberto. Enigma is in Malaysia. He does stuff for me, and he does a lot of coaching and just does really, really well with Black Yellow Luffy. He was an early onsetter. And Fleche just recently won EU Nationals, so he has an invite, and he's super happy. I've worked with him before, and that's how it is. So I'm going to go through one by one what I thought on every single guide now, and then we'll rank them after. Number 1, Impact. And Impact, I've worked with Impact a lot, but I'm going to tell you all, I'm going to be very impartial when it comes to any of these guides, because I just want to look at the content itself and not the person too much. Obviously, who they are does change quite a bit. But Impact's, his was supposed to be only 9 minutes long. It ended up being 2.5 hours long, because he did about a 30-minute Q&A and talked quite a bit about matchups and answered questions. I wish there was a VOD of just the straight answers, but that's kind of where it was. You kind of have to watch it at 1.25 speed. as far as that goes if you actually want to get the most out of it, but it is very detailed where you actually do not want to skip out of anything. I will say it does have a lot of basics in there, and it really has a lot of masterful things. The main thing is it's very simple, as in he gives you the very simple combos that are broken, the things that Impacts uses. I'm not going to go over those simple things here because I want to say the other guides didn't exactly have all these combos that are just broken laid out for it, but he did go over the very simple combos that you should be using and bring up why for those. And one thing I didn't love about it, he didn't have a lot of pictures. He had like maybe a couple, but it wasn't too visual friendly. So if you pull up a card and just talk about a card, it's easy, but he would just talk about a card without pulling it up. So it was a little confusing. But other than that, it was pretty good. And I'll rank that here in a moment. Next is actually Jellybeans. Jellybeans, I had no response from him. I tried to reach out to Jellybeans. I think his was $45. Actually, it's $40 plus their Metafy thing, and it was just too expensive for me to really go for that. And when I try to reach out to somebody a couple times on Twitter, at least twice, and I don't get a response, why would I buy something from you? That's kind of strange. So I mean, this might be throwing shade at the Kuzan Master himself. I have actually only ever heard good things about this guy, but and it's kind of silly I'm even throwing this in the tier, but you would think you want to have decent customer service if you're trying to provide guides to people, and that's kind of, I'm trying to ask you a question, you don't even want to respond. So there we are. Next is Eric Quintana. His guide was actually in 7.5 pre-nats, which he did go top 8 at Nationals with his kind of more interesting build. And one thing he had going for him, it was actually a little slow starting the guide, but it had really good visuals. I was actually really surprised at how detailed he was. He actually goes over the matchup ratios and why he even chooses this deck. And the one thing I really liked, it was easy to follow for a newer player if they want to look at those good visuals and some ideas of understanding how the deck basically works. He does go over all the matchups in its entirety and when he wants to go through. And the great thing is it's actually only 90 minutes. It doesn't go over some sort of crazy time. And one thing I love about Eric, also Impact and all these other people, they're more than happy to answer questions if you've bought the guide before. They're more easily capable of talking to you about whatever. Roberto, I actually don't know a whole lot about Roberto before this whole thing, but he was very nice. He loved that I was doing this. And again, I'm just going to keep it straight and honest of the guides that I saw. So his was a little bit longer and it did have some basic things. And I want to go over one thing I really liked about his guide was actually the black-yellow mirror. And he was really detailed in going first. And I guess I can give away this portion of the guide. Obviously, the guide has a lot more to offer than what I'm saying, but he would actually choose to go first in the mirror if his opponent was not a GOAT. If his opponent was some EU level player, he would choose to go first because going second in the BY mirror, you actually have to play near perfect, which is pretty tough. But going first, you're kind of forcing your opponent to awaken first, and really, really, really makes it really tough to play absolutely perfect. So that's one thing I really liked about it. He did most of the video was just him going over the matchups he played and went over a lot of what if scenarios. What I didn't like is that in all the matches, his opponents made big mistakes. Like too big of a mistakes to know that this is an actual regional. This is like a high level player he's playing against. I felt like it kind of showed me that EU online, Roberto was maybe either really lucky or EU is generally the general player base just as prone to making really big obvious mistakes. And I mean, he does capitalize on those, but in his videos, he does go over why they made that mistake. And also on top of that, what if scenarios and that. But it's really hard to critique a game or watch a game when a big mistake has been made, so big that there's no way that they could win. Right? They make some huge mistake. They don't draw good enough. It couldn't even been a mistake, just like bad draws. Right? And that's one thing I didn't like about it. So I wish he had different examples. I think he actually might just want to make a new video just with actual examples of other games. Other than that, yeah, it's good. I just want different game examples that isn't your opponent just losing. Enigma. So it's my guide. It's been there for a while. We actually did 2 guides. People like the first one actually better than the second one. And it had one thing that's not good about it is it doesn't have a very popular build as of currently. And he's in a different format. That's the kind of the problem. He's not in a Western format. He has a different build. He's doing different things. And he's still playing it in 09, which is cool and all, but not that relevant to us. So you can say that's kind of a downside of kind of what he's going for, but it does have a lot of details. And I think most of the guide just makes up for itself with the amount of quality of how organized it is. And that's me tooting my own horn there. But the main thing is that Enigma, he is actually pretty well spoken, and he does offer coachings and stuff like that. And he answers questions quite often on my Discord. But the main thing is that knowledgeable, but at the same time, Western format, he's not in there, so he doesn't know our same struggles currently. And then Fleche, the national champion. And I mean, I said 5 minutes. It's a 75-minute video. And in this 75-minute video, he has all the matchups. He actually doesn't go over a lot of basics. So I will tell you, I would not go into his guide as a basic guide if you're trying to learn the deck. It's if you're already know a little bit about your doing, you're trying to go from intermediate to advanced. This is probably the best guide for that. And he talks about the matchups because that's what really matters, right? And he talks a lot about the Bonnie matchup, the Nami matchup, the BY mirror, Lucci, right? He goes into a lot of details, but he just kind of does this on the sim. So there's not really a whole lot of visuals. But the knowledge there was actually next level. I took a whole lot of notes, and I was able to, after this, get my own national invite. Pretty much not with this. I had a different list, but like the same general ideas from the matchups, because he kind of breaks the matchups down really, really well. And that's why I recommend it. Also, his is just a $10 Patreon, which is probably the more affordable things, where mine's 15 and then Impact's 30 and then others are 30, 40. So something in that range is maybe like kind of the thing, but this is definitely a guide that gets you from intermediate to advanced. But the visuals, there's no animation, he just pulls up a card and talks about a card, talks about a deck and its issues, which I gotta say, pretty efficient. That's what I like about it. All right, now for the part you've been waiting for is actually the very quick and well done tier list. So with that, we're just going to get it started off with just picking one person. Let's start with Enigma. Enigma, he's from Malaysia, right? And he doesn't live in the Western format. So he doesn't kind of know like our own struggles with that, but I mean, he's kind of an early pioneer of BY Luffy. A lot of people loved his first video. He has a second video, very available. If I was to put him on a tier list, I think he's a really good, solid B tier. And this is, again, it's going to be tough. You guys are going to see this very soon here. It's going to be tough to be really above an A tier, right? So the next thing is we're going to go over is Eric Quintana. Eric Quintana, honestly, the problem is that it was done in 7.5. 7.5 is a little behind us, but the information was actually really good. Really, really good. And for that, because of that information and the way it's visually done, the visually done is the best part about this, right? And the fact that it was done within 90 minutes, I think should bump it up a little bit. So I'm actually going to go A tier with this one. Okay, like if I was to really guess, mid A tier, but we're gonna see how the rest go out. Next is Fleche. Fleche, national champion winner. Not really great for beginners if you're starting to play the deck. It's great for intermediate players. So with that, we're gonna take him, and I'm trying to think. I mean, I'm trying to disconnect the name. I'm trying to look at only the guide, and it's just so tough, right? It's very tough. With that, I'm honestly going to give this a higher than Enigma, but a high B tier. High B tier. Okay. Next is Roberto. Roberto, its matchups were just not great, right? That was kind of the worst thing about it. When watching the video, and then I'm only talking about the negatives, it seems like. There are positives. But when watching the video, there just was not a lot of good games that were actually done there. But it was well explained. But it was a little too long. So for that being too long, I'm actually going to put you in C tier. But again, that's not really a bad thing. It's just in C tier based off of everyone else. Next is laser focused himself, the Impact. And, you know, Impact, this is actually kind of his first actual video guide by himself, right? So he's obviously not going to have all the hiccups taken care of. You know, it's why the video went longer than it should have. But a lot of people would say the video being that long is kind of a testament to how hard the deck is and how much more explaining it needs. But I mean, a lot of guides don't need to be that long, but some guides do. But for the amount of, you know, visuals for being that long, it didn't feel that. But it's very good basic knowledge, right? And I actually just want to put it, because of that basic knowledge there, I'm actually going to put that above Eric in the A tier. You can probably put them as tied, realistically. And the information I got there was actually pretty good, because it actually just reminded me that the game is the game. And he'll say this in his first sentence in his video: the objective of the game is get your opponent to 0 life and then attack them once. And that's what this deck really needs to do. You're on a timer. And that's what's really spelled out with this guide specifically, saying that is what the game is. He kind of sees it in a different light. And, you know, I'm expecting more great guides from him. This is definitely a first great video guide from him. But it's not the S tier he was looking for. He's going to be obviously disappointed in the comments, but that's just, it's still great. With that, next we have his Jellybeans. I'm just going to put as not applicable. I'm putting it in here in D tier because, well, he didn't respond to any message, so I wasn't able to even get the guide. I'm not going to spend $45 on something where someone's not even going to be able to respond to me. So that's why I'm going to put him here in D tier. If you'd like to, I would love you to reach out to me, and I would love to actually do a video review for you making up for this. So feel free to reach out to me. It'll be here. And then there's actually one more person I wanted to throw in the tier, and that actually is you. You are the S tier. I know that sounds really dumb, okay? But the main thing is, you're the only one who can comprehend, make the notes, do the time, do the work, do the grind fest to actually make yourself better, okay? And that's going to be the main thing. It's really silly here. It's actually teaching. I want all of you, when you watch these videos, watch these guides, play Black, Yellow, Luffy, work with others, teach them how to play the deck. And then for some reason, when you teach somebody how to do something, all of a sudden, it's just easier for you. The game's easier. You learn the actual deck, and it kind of transcends needing a coach. The best coach is yourself. And that's where I wanted to leave it at. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. What video you want to see next time. Make sure you guys like if you like the video. Subscribe if you want to see more like it. And I'll see you all in the next video. Ciao.